Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rowntree Gardens podcast. My name is Elias Rodriguez and I'll be your host. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Ellie. She's never afraid to speak her mind, always has a logical approach to whatever you ask, and it's very refreshing as a result. I think you'll really get a kick out of this interview, and without further ado, here is Ellie. Hi, Ellie. How are you today?
I am doing very well.
Great. Did you go for your morning walk today?
Yes, I did. And it was quite cool. It was about 8:20 or so. Cool and delightful.
And you do that every day?
I do that every single morning unless it's raining.
And how long have you been doing that for?
Let's see. I had my first child. I was 27. So from age 25 on, and I'm going to be 89.
Amazing. What a habit.
Decreased my mileage from, I used to walk better than 5 miles, and I walked at least 5 miles until I hit 83.
Wow, that is an incredible habit. Every day.
Well, it was done for self-preservation. I have scoliosis, which is curvature of the spine. It is a recessive gene, and it's hereditary. And when I had it, nobody knew how to deal with it.
I see.
And I had one of my daughters has scoliosis, and when she was 15 and a half, she had the proper surgery, had a bar, they put a bar in your vertebrae, and that way John Hall was the surgeon, and they have these special metals and things. So it works out so that she never had the problems, but she is now walking to keep her back muscles strong 5 miles a day.
Wow. Okay, so you're passing on the good habit for self-preservation.
For self-preservation, exactly.
That's absolutely wonderful.
No one else is going to do it for you.
So thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast with me. I know it's podcast. Have you heard of a podcast before?
Not really.
Not really? Okay, so this is kind of a new thing. We're doing it together,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited about it. So you've been walking every day since 25 years old. Is there any other habits that you've maintained for maybe not as long of a period, but continual period like that?
Not any I'd like to tell you about.
Okay, then we'll keep it there. That's good. But habits are definitely something that you got to work at all the time. I can't imagine telling someone else that I've been doing it for 7 years.
It's easy to have self-discipline when you know what the other effect is if you don't do it.
Gotcha.
It isn't done voluntarily, but I do enjoy walking. I always have. But it's either that or be in a wheelchair. And since I have no other medical conditions, for me to maintain whatever ability I have to move, I have to walk.
Wonderful. Where are you from? You mentioned you don't walk in the rain. Where did you grow up?
I grew up early childhood in Newark, New Jersey, an immigrant town. I am a first-generation American, and then I've lived all over. I went to college in New Brunswick. I went to graduate school in Ithaca, New York, and then I went to Detroit, Michigan. Went to Massachusetts, went to North Carolina, and went back to Massachusetts.
Oh my goodness! Okay,
and spent close to 40 years there till I moved here to California, and I've been in California 20 years.
Wow! And so, was there a lot of weather change in where you came from, and now that you're in California, do you miss the weather, the seasons?
Spent close to 40 years in Massachusetts, and our children were young at the time. One was born in Michigan, and one was born in Boston, and so they grew up there. So I ice skated, and we did skiing. I didn't do downhill skiing. I was too terrified, quite frankly.
Okay.
I did cross country, but we did all the winter sports, and as a family, and my husband loved it, tobogganing, so that it worked out very nicely.
Oh, great. Okay. Wonderful. I've been spoiled in California my whole life, so sometimes I always wonder, am I missing out on all the seasons? And it sounds like there's a lot of great opportunities and memories.
And there's also a very hot, humid, sultry summer in Boston where you practically die from the humidity. So
yeah, I think I'll skip that.
California does have perfect weather as far as I'm concerned.
And I know that you keep most of your days busy here in a certain part of Rowntree Gardens. Would you mind letting us know a little bit of what has been something you've put a lot of effort in here?
Well, I work as a volunteer in the library, and I go in every day and do what needs to be done. I am not a librarian, but I love reading, and I enjoy books. I always have, so I've done that, and I find I need to be busy. And then up until this problem with being socially 6 feet apart, we had bridge. I sort of ran the bridge thing on Monday night for 2 tables of bridge, and now we're playing haphazardly in some of the lounges. And since I've always enjoyed gardening, and my husband, who grew up on a farm, was an avid farmer, I'm very active in as far as the community garden is concerned.
I see. Wow. Hand in a lot of pots. And some of them quite
I
literally.
I like to keep busy. And the rest of the time, I'm not much for television. I do read a lot. And so for me, if I don't keep busy, I would be bored to death. In fact, quite frankly, the fact that I can't get out of here has already bored me to death.
Okay. With this whole virus pandemic.
Yeah.
It's really changed things up for...
Right, it has. And it makes one realize how fortunate one is to be able to come and go.
Agreed. And so the library, I've seen you do so much in organization and labeling, and it's quite a project in there.
I'm compulsive obsessive. My children will tell you that. And I'm highly organized.
You really can tell. It's very organized, very orderly. I just found it so wonderful in there, and you go in there every day.
You.
So we really appreciate it. But is there any background? Did you work in anything like a library? Where did you develop all those skills?
Entirely different from my career. No. Actually, what I did was estate and fiduciary tax work and probate accounting for 20 years with a law firm.
Very different from the library.
Yeah. I was fascinated by money.
I see.
Not having money to spend, the function of money. If you stop and think about it, money makes the world go round. But and since I was a first-generation American and came from a poor family, we had very limited money. But it was a question, I realized you needed money to run society. But the thing that fascinated me was, how do you hang on to your money? Because in Massachusetts especially, and also in New Jersey, there are some extremely wealthy families that go back generations, of course, but they preserved the money. And I thought, everybody, my father was always complaining about the income tax. So I was intrigued with it. I know it sounds weird. So I did my undergraduate work in mathematics and economics because I had no intention of ever teaching, the last thing in the world that interested me. And realized the importance of money in keeping society moving. So then I decided, well, I want to do something. I mean, here I am, a college college graduate, but it's useless if you don't have. So I went on to Cornell and got my MBA,
Wow.
and this is 1955.
Amazing.
And fortunately, at that time, Ford Motor Company went public, and they were giving their employees stock options and dispersal, and taxation fascinated me. You know, what right
Oh my goodness.
did the government have not only to tax you, but to freeze your assets and do? Anyway, it probably sounds crazy, but that sort of thing fascinated me.
How interesting and wonderful. I mean, everyone has fascinations, and you ended up following that fascination.
I did. I was fortunate.
Yeah.
Simply because of the timing and being at the right place at the right time.
Cornell, that's incredible.
Yeah, but you have to be fortunate to be at the right place at the right time.
And then take advantage of that opportunity,
Oh,
though.
yeah.
That's the hardest part
Well.
sometimes.
You're pretty stupid if you don't.
And so also I wanted to talk a little bit about, you mentioned bridge. I think a few times we've talked about games and card games, and I've mentioned that I've had some interest in bridge. And you let me in a little bit into the world of bridge. It's not a simple card game. It's actually...
No, it depends on how serious you are. Both my husband and I learned how to play bridge when we went to college. And and then during our marriage, when we had young children with other young couples, you know, we'd go to each other's homes and play bridge, enjoyed it very much. And my husband died in 2004. Plus, I'm a competitive person. I am very competitive. And lovely lady, Bernadine Phillips, who was a bridge instructor, said, I will show you duplicate bridge and teach you if you will be my partner.
There's a caveat. You will be taught, but you have to be my partner. So I want you to be good.
So she had enough faith in me to see that I was competitive and I liked to play. So anyway, so I started playing duplicate. And then we went on into competition and Master Point. And then I came here and found out that party bridge, which I had learned back in college, was what we were doing. So I forgot about duplicate. But I mean, if you ask anybody I play bridge with, the first thing they'll say is, she's competitive.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people don't think that's a good quality, but I think if you get the best out of what you have to be competitive.
I love it. I love it. And you've mentioned now you're walking, bridge, you went to university, you're keeping busy, the library, all these things. Do you feel that that's really helped to keep your mind sharp? And
I think bridge, or for that matter, any kind of a game where you have to think and react and deal with people helps keep your brain sharp. Otherwise, I think lethargy sets in. And you just people just sort of semi-doze in front of a television set, which I think is sad.
Well, you had mentioned in the past the self-preservation of walking, and then you also mentioned self-preservation of the brain, and that's why you did bridge so much, and I just didn't know how complex it was till you explained some of it to me, and I was really impressed. I thought it was very cool. I think one of the other things that I've been asking is, if you had to give advice to a younger generation, let's say the next coming generation, you've got habits, you do things on a regular basis for self-preservation, is there anything that you might give to maybe a kid coming out of college or anything like that as far as advice?
I feel very, very strongly about discipline in your studies, discipline in seeing what you're doing, where it's taking you. You just don't go to get a Bachelor of Arts degree and then go someplace and find out that they want somebody with a different experience and your fine arts degree means nothing. I mean, I think you need to determine, think about it. What do you want? Where are you going?
That's guided you very well. And so the other last thing I would say is you came to Rowntree Gardens, a senior living community. There might be others that are considering making a move to a senior living facility. What were some of the things that maybe made you consider a place like this, and what kind of advice would you give someone that is considering it?
I came and signed up for Life Care because I don't take medication for I don't have heart conditions or any of that stuff. I have a physical problem, which is slowly but surely debilitating. And I came because I figured I was going to end up, hopefully not, but possible that I would end up in a wheelchair. So I came with the idea that I would be taken care of. You know, you don't want to be a burden to your children, but this was the place that I felt offered a continuum of care that would carry me through. And fortunately, I was in a position to do it.
Wonderful. Well, I've had such a wonderful time just sitting and chatting, getting to know you a little bit more. You're always so fun and entertaining, I feel. And you laugh so much that it just makes me always be in a good mood.
Basically, I'm a happy person. I can't see any reason not to be.